Is the SIG P320 dangerous? Well, yes, all guns are kind of dangerous. And the SIG P320 is more so than most guns. But does that mean it's a bad design? Or that SIG should be liable when people use it incorrectly? Hey everybody, Yankee here. You know, we've been talking a lot about the P320 lately. Everybody has. And I have found myself being an unlikely defender of the P320, which I'm not really defending the P320. I'm really defending a principle. Because I don't like polymer guns. I definitely don't like striker-fired guns. I think they're unsafe. Does that mean I think they shouldn't exist? No, it just means I think most people shouldn't be handling them. I won't handle them. I don't trust myself to carry one. So it is kind of weird that I'm the one defending the gun. But it seems like the reason that is because the gun community itself has become so negative. All they want to see is bad news. All they want to be told is who to hate and why to be afraid. They don't want positivity. They don't want logical thinking. They just want groupthink and, angry mob mentality. And the anti-gunners have noticed that. And they have figured out how to turn that against our own community, how to turn us against ourselves. Because you love negativity. I never thought I'd see the day where videos from pro-gun YouTubers are being used to convince juries that know nothing about guns that if a manufacturer makes a gun that is quick and fast and easy to use and dangerous because of that, if they don't put safeties on it and make it idiot-proof, well, then they're responsible when an idiot does something stupid with it. I don't like that whole idea at all. Never thought I'd live to see that. But we're seeing that. We're having people say, it's a bad design because you can intentionally make it fail. And if you're not 100%, cognizant of what you're doing, you could have a problem with it. Therefore, it's the gun's fault. It's the tool, not the tool using it. I don't like that. Didn't think I'd ever see that, but that's what we've come to, and a lot of it is because of the negativity of the gun community. But that's a totally different thing. Today, what I'm coming on here for is I want to tell you I did change my mind about something. I told you all along, if anybody proves something to me, I'll change my mind. I don't have any interest in SIG. I don't own any stock in SIG. I don't get paid by SIG. I don't get free products from SIG. I don't get nothing from SIG. And I got no loyalty to them. If they did or said something anti-Constitution tomorrow, I'd be like, nobody buy SIGs. Well, I really wouldn't do that because I don't like boycotts, but I'd be like, I'm never buying another SIG, and I'll tell you why. Like I said, no loyalty to them at all. But like I said, I don't like this rabid community that's just waiting to tear things down, even if it's themselves. You got a bunch of rabid dogs biting themselves on the ass and running in circles. And I don't like that. And it's not because people are actually concerned about something real. It's because they've been worked into a fervor about a fake idea. The idea that, the guns just go off on their own. They never go off on their own. If you accidentally push the trigger, they can go off. If you put it in a holster and the trigger's partially depressed, it can bounce around, it can go off. That's true because the gun is not safe, in my opinion, for most people to use. People gave SIG a lot of shit over the guns going off when this happens, but this is what they asked for. They wanted guns that were quicker than the Glock, smoother than the Glock. The reset was faster than the Glock. You could fire quicker than the Glock. It was just a cleaner, more precise, faster overall gun. More operator. And SIG gave it to them, and most of them can't handle it. And up until now, I've said, well, that's not SIG's fault. I've used the analogy that, if most people got in an F1 car and took off down the road, they'd be dead in 5 minutes. And that's probably true. They probably would be dead in 5 minutes, or at least severely injured, because when they wrapped it around a tree. But I say, is that F1's fault? Is that the builder of the F1 car's fault? Or is that the guy who thought he could drive an F1? Even if it's like, all my life I've wanted an F1, and he gets in it, boom, drives into a tree, is that his fault? Or is it the maker of the car's fault? I think it's the driver's fault. But here's the big difference. When I've said that SIG gave people what they wanted, and they shouldn't have any liability for people misusing it, I kind of might be wrong. Because when I was talking to Wyoming Gun Project, and then later Matthew, I forget his last name, they both kind of sowed the seeds of doubt in me about that position. I mean, I'm like that about most things. It's kind of, I don't want to say libertarian position, because I'm not a libertarian. I'm an old classic liberal, Jeffersonian liberal, where, hey, if you do stupid shit, it's on you. But I do believe in some consumer protections. So am I a hypocrite if I don't believe in that with guns? So I started thinking, well, if SIG produced this gun and they said, hey, this gun's for everybody, well, that's kind of a special circumstance, because F1 builders don't build F1 cars and say they're for everybody. They don't market it as like, hey, here's a potential daily driver for you. If you're rich enough and you can afford it, you can drive this every day and it's totally safe. It's not. It's not totally safe. It's not at all safe. They're very dangerous. They're practically death traps. Even a lot of NASCAR drivers say they would never get in an Indy car. It's a death trap. I've seen them say that in interviews and stuff. Because I used to be into Indy driving a little bit. Thought it would be cool until I realized I drove one once at an event, and it was a really powered down, neutered one, and I never want to do it again. So as I was saying, they're not marketing their cars as everyday drivers. Sig Sauer kind of did market this as everybody's gun for every use. It's the perfect gun. Now, in their ad where they say the gun for everyone, you notice that they only show people engaging in competition, range use, and duty. They don't show anybody concealed carrying just as an everyday. They don't show a mom loading groceries into a truck with the gun on her hip. And I think that was intentional to limit their liability, because I think they know this gun was going to have problems. But they knew it was what people wanted, and they could sell a shit ton of them. And if some people get hurt, they get hurt. You fight it in court, whatever. That doesn't make the gun itself unsafe, but it does mean SIG's playing that game, and this is something both people said to me while we were doing it, and it kind of made me think a little bit also, of how many people can die before we lose profit. So because of the fact that they did kind of market it as an everyday gun, like I said, they didn't go specifically and say this is the best carry gun, and they kind of potentially, I think, it deliberately left that out of their advertisements, but they made people think that. And the one they marketed to the military and the one they marketed to the general populace, different guns. They should have made the point when they sold this gun that this is not an everyday carry gun. This is for the serious gun enthusiast. This is for the guy that knows my holster can't have any give. When I put my gun back in my holster, I have to be very careful. When I'm handling this gun, I have to be very careful. There's like 3.5 pounds standing between me and a discharge. That's it. So because of that, and because of the things, they said to me during the debates, I have reconsidered my position. And I do think SIG should pay for some of these issues. Now, not for issues with law enforcement, etc. But if anyone is injured, a civilian is injured with these guns, SIG Sauer should be liable for that, because they told them this gun was safe. This gun is not safe. There's nothing safe about it. But like I said, not every gun is safe. Not every knife is safe. I have a katana in there. It ain't safe, because if I tried to take it off the shelf and play with it, well, you'd be seeing my obituary tomorrow probably. Or I'd be doing this video from a hospital bed where I was explaining to people that I can no longer move or walk because I've cut my hands and my feet off. But like I said, that doesn't mean the sword itself is bad. That means I shouldn't be handling it. And I don't remember anywhere saying, seeing katana makers saying, hey, anyone can play with a katana. Most people will say, don't play with that. You're going to cut your arms off, or you're going to poke your eyes out. So even BB guns, when they market BB guns, they talk about how you have to be super safe and how you can get hurt and all this other stuff. There's a whole booklet that comes with it about things not to do. Now, I don't think we need that with guns, because most of us know guns are dangerous. But there's a lot of people out there that don't understand how dangerous they can be, especially if you think you're an operator and you're not. Or you think you're a gun expert and you're not. Like I said, I'm not an operator. I am not the kind of person that's going to be 100% cognizant at all times of everything I'm doing. I might have a slip. And when I do have a slip, I want a gun that's going to be forgiving of that mistake. P320s are not forgiving of mistakes. Period. Ever. Doesn't make them a bad gun. It makes them a specialized gun for people who can handle that. And if you make the decision that you can handle that, you're informed that that's what it is, and then you have an issue with it, a problem with it, you misuse it, that's on you. But if you're told it's an everyday driver and it's actually an Indy car and you wrap it around a tree, well, then maybe the person that sold it to you as an everyday driver should suffer some responsibility, especially if you're not an Indy car driver. If they decide to market it as something it's not and sell it to people who aren't what they think they are, knowingly, and like I said, I think they know, because if you look at that advertisement, that was the thing that was the final straw. I'm like, well, there's a distinct lack of people carrying here, but they're saying it's for everybody. So seems like they're limiting their liability a little bit there. So like I said, if you market it as an F1 car, sell it to people that aren't F1 drivers, you should have liability. Sig Sauer sold this as the gun for everyone. Said it's totally safe. It isn't totally safe. No gun's totally safe. This especially isn't totally safe. So I think they mismarketed this gun. I think they lied to people. They gave people what they want, yes. But giving people what they want isn't always a smart thing to do, isn't always the ethical thing to do. Sometimes you have to tell people, no, you'll shoot your eye out with that, and not give it to them. Like 5-year-olds want a lot of things. You don't just hand them anything they want and feel like I'm free of responsibility because they wanted it. No. I think SIG played the game of how much money can we make off of this if we make it for everybody? Because if we just make it for specialty use, we'll sell 1/10 of them. So let's pretend they're for everyday use. Let's let people buy them for everyday use. And then we'll say, well, if you hadn't have made this mistake, it wouldn't have went off, which is true. But you lulled people into a false sense of security. You get marketed a gun in the way it shouldn't have been marketed, and you sold it to people that probably shouldn't own it. I shouldn't own it. And I think that brings with it responsibility. Hey everybody, Yankee here. Before we go, I just want to take a second to remind everyone that this channel is 100% viewer funded. We don't take a penny from advertisers, retailers. We don't take money from political organizations. There's no one telling me what I need to tell you. Everything that we do is done through the generosity of our viewers, either buying merchandise or becoming a patron or a Subscribe Star member. You're all the ones that support Pets and Vets and TYMP. And that's the reason I can stay true to myself and loyal only to the people who watch my channel. And I can spend my time talking about what I want to talk about, telling what I think needs to be said, and giving you my uncensored take on things I think you need to hear. So if you'd like to help keep things that way, please support the channel by becoming a patron, a Subscribe Star supporter, or just going over to my web store and buying some merch. The links are all in the upper corner of this video.